Welcome to the Care to Share podcast, brought to you by Oakland Care, a luxury care home provider in the southeast of England. I'm Rachel. Each episode I will be joined by guests to talk about what you need to know when moving a loved one into a care home. We will give you practical advice and also show you what life is like inside our care homes to show you the truly positive side of elderly care. Hi everyone and welcome back to the Care to Share podcast. Today Tashai and myself are joined by Jon Mason, who's Head of Recruitment at Oakland Care. Jon has worked in healthcare recruitment for over 10 years, starting as an agency recruiter before moving internally, and before that he had a background in banking and retail sales. Thanks for joining us today, Jon.
My pleasure.
Did you want to start by just giving a bit more of an introduction to yourself and what your role is at Oakland Care?
Yeah, sure. So, as Rachel said, I'm the head of recruitment for all 10 homes now here at Oakland Care. I deal with all the recruitment for every position in the home, as well as all the positions within head office. I'm basically responsible for raising of the adverts, creating of job descriptions, interview questions with the hiring managers, sending out job offers and checking all compliance and attending careers events.
Great, thank you. So today we're going to talk about careers in care and all the different types of roles that you can do in care and what the benefits are of working in care. So can you tell us a bit more about the roles that are available in our care homes? Because I guess people think it's just care assistants and kind of clinical roles, but can you elaborate a little bit on all the different types of roles that we offer and that are available in care?
Yeah, of course I can. As you mentioned, we've got the normal roles in any other care home. We've got the healthcare assistants, the seniors, and the registered nurses if it's a nursing home. But there are a lot more roles that most people don't realise or just sort of overlook. So obviously we've got our head chefs and our very large catering teams. So this is comprised of a few roles like kitchen assistant, chef de partie, commis chef, sous chef, and then obviously the head chefs themselves. We have large maintenance teams, so usually maintenance manager and either one or two maintenance assistants would probably pick up as well on the minibus driving. Hospitality teams, housekeeping. Yeah. We also have assistant practitioners, which is a position that we have here at Oakland Care. Community leads and unit managers, client relation managers, who's our sort of CRMs, hairdressers, and then my favourite role, which is the lifestyles and the activities team, which personally I think has got to be the most fun in a care home.
Absolutely.
Thanks for that. Yeah, so that's a really good overview of all of the different types of roles. You mentioned head chefs, catering teams, and hospitality. So I think that's something that a lot of people might not consider is a role that's really in care. What are the advantages of chefs and hospitality people working in care rather than a restaurant? Because it might not be their first place to call if they're looking for a job, and it might not be as attractive on the outside as a posh restaurant or something like that. But what do you think are the benefits of chefs and kind of the hospitality side working in care?
One of the biggest advantages is probably it's a different pace. So in a high-end restaurant in London, for example, it's quite a fast-paced environment. Ours, because obviously the meals are prepped through the day, there's quite a large team and, of course, a state-of-the-art kitchen. It's a lot more advantageous to a head chef to allow them to put their creativity on the food itself. So a bit more time on preparation and just a bit more of their creative flair, in the overall dining experience.
Yeah, and we recently did an internal thing. So you mentioned there's a couple of things that are unique to Oakland Care. We mentioned the assistant practitioners. Yes. So could you tell us a little bit more about what they are and how they're different to a nurse and a healthcare assistant?
Yes, I will try my best on that one.
Yeah.
Assistant practitioners are basically it's a group of senior care staff that are selected by general managers and our clinical care teams, and they are selected usually in groups of about 12 to 15, and they go on an advanced course that will allow them to do pretty much everything that a nurse can do, or as close as it can be. also, the good part of our assistant practitioner course now is we have just had it associated with the City and Guilds. So it's also a full qualification which they get to sort of take away with themselves. But yeah, so they get to do a lot of different things. So I have actually seen one of the training sessions in person. So I actually witnessed this. Well, was at one of the homes in Loughton, and I actually walked in while all the assistant practitioners were practicing venipuncture. That looked really fun, sort of, because they were practicing on the plastic arms, obviously the syrup for things like that. And yeah, it's quite a different role. It's another way for care staff to go towards being a nurse. So again, obviously, if you don't want to go to university and spend the 4 years and obviously the costs of being a nurse, it's another avenue to sort of get them there. But also it comes with a higher rate of pay and more responsibilities as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's what's the kind of steps for somebody to become an assistant practitioner? Are they sort of like, does that go from sort of care assistant, senior care assistant, and then they go into training?
Yeah. So yeah, ideally they'll come in as a healthcare assistant, progress to be a senior carer with medication training, and then yes, we then progress them internally. Based on, I mean, first of all, they've got to have that aptitude to do that. Some people are phenomenal seniors, and that's their safe place. That's where I like to work. But yeah, anyone that wants to take that progression, yes, we have the internal progression field of assistant practitioner, which will allow them to get those little bit of extra clinical skills.
Yeah, no, that's a really good example of career progression within Oakland Care. We also had mentioned hospitality staff. I'd say that's quite a new area within Oakland Care in the last couple of years. We've kind of developed our hospitality teams, and we recently did the Care Meets Hospitality event with a top hotel, which was a really good kind of cross-industry event to train our hospitality staff within the ways of the 5-star kind of luxury hotel. So again, that's just a demonstration of what kind of opportunities you'll have to learn and progress within part of your role at Oakland Care. So for anyone that might be considering a role in care, what kind of skills or experience do people need? I know we've spoken about a wide range of roles, so it's going to be different for each, but do people necessarily have to have had a background in care, or is it a personality type that you look for?
Yeah, I mean, it used to be when I first started. It used to be if you didn't have experience in care, you couldn't work in care. Over the years, that has changed. Obviously, the pool of applicants who have got care experience have all progressed themselves. So the pool gets a little bit smaller. So for me, I'd say anyone with the right mindset can work in care. But for me, it's got to be firstly someone that's a caring person. As an organisation, we offer full training, all paid and supported by our wonderful L&D team. But the only thing we can't train someone to do is care. The rest of it, manual handling, personal care, pretty much everything, the IDSI and everything, we can train all of that. But yeah, we say we look for caring people. But then, as you mentioned, personality. So as part of my recruitment strategies, I do like to do lots of different things like open evenings, which is where rather than doing a formal interview, the heads of units actually get to meet people, have a coffee, a bit of cake. There's no formal interview process. However, you get to see someone's personality, as you mentioned. You get to see, is that person, or have they got the right personality? We'll bring in residents who will sit around as well. We like to see how they interact as part of that prep. And yeah, the personality is a huge part of it, and the mindset.
Yeah.
That's a really great idea, isn't it? Sort of just, as you said, bring them into the home, bring them into our environment, our surroundings. And as you mentioned, you get to see what they're really like around the residents. Yeah. You are looking at their personality. That's a big part, really, isn't it? I mean, you've just explained that.
Yeah, it's less daunting for them as well, isn't it? They can then perhaps relax and be themselves a little bit more, so rather than the pressure of an interview. So no, that's
and it breaks down the barriers. The stigma or the myth of a care home and what people perceive a care home to look like. The reason we do the open events is so that you can come in and make up your own mind. We've got a lot of open events running through February, and we like to do our open evenings on an evening. So usually from sort of 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. so that it's more convenient for people, you know, so they finish work or, you know, children are in bed, those sorts of things. They've got a bit of time to you know, come and just focus a bit of time on, because try to squeeze a bit of time in through the day while you're, you know, juggling children, juggling work or anything else, it's virtually impossible. So that's why we try and open the doors in an evening, you know, and just give people that insight and just let them see what it's really like in a care home.
No, that sounds great. Okay, so moving on, what do you think are the benefits of working in care? Because it, like you say, there's a lot of stigma around care. It's not always the most attractive industry for pay and things like that, like we know. But what kind of things would you say that people can get? We have spoken about career progression, which again is something that people might not think is possible or even like realistic, but we've kind of given some examples of how it is. But what are the other benefits?
So yeah, you mentioned there obviously progression, but that all depends on the person and if they want progression. Some people don't want to be, you know, they don't want to be managers. They want to do their job. They want to make a difference and carry on as they are. So probably the number one for me is the fact that you actually get to help others. That on its own is the biggest reward. I've always said as part of my careers events, and I said this a bit ago at one in Ascot, you will never be a millionaire working in care, but you will get something that other people don't, and that is, you know, the way you help someone else. Whether it's, you know, feedback from a family member saying you've really made mum's day or dad's day today, whether it's just a passing comment from a professional, you know, GP, an ambulance worker, and they say you're amazing. Those bits on its own, you cannot buy that. Yeah, there's a few other things. The care industry itself is definitely growing. I mean, you can see that. Obviously, I know, like you say, it's not the most attractive of areas, but you know, if people come into our homes, you'll actually see it's growing. You know, the way the care industry is going now, it is more luxurious. You know, obviously with the ever aging population, that more people are in homes, and we've sort of proven that time and time again that this industry is, you know, it's here forever. And then obviously you've got the learn while you earn. You know, obviously you mentioned about promotion, but we say learn while you earn purely because we make sure that our people are paid while they're training and learning. So that is a huge benefit on its own. So while we're supporting you with these qualifications and skills, you're still earning a salary, which is massive, because not every company is able to provide that.
And I think that's really great, isn't it? Because with the learn to earn, you're actually attracting probably the younger generation into social care, you know, which is a good point, you know, to start in terms of career, kind of talking about career progression. But it's a really great place to start. Plus you're earning while you're learning. I mean, what young person who's probably just come out of school or finished college and wants a career in social care to start in. And I know you attended the can't remember what the event's called, was it school leavers in college event last year?
In Ascot. Yeah, that was fantastic. 15,000 students in 2 days, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So right audience.
So just on that point, could you tell us a little bit maybe about some of the courses that we do internally at Oakland Care? And I think it's good to point out as well that I would say most of our courses are available for everyone. So even if that's not your particular area, would you say that's true?
Yeah.
So for example, I've been on 2 courses recently, end of life care and walk in my shoes dementia. I don't work directly with residents. Obviously it's part of my job and I need to have an understanding of it, but it's not restricted in any way.
No, not at all. I mean, they're 2 of probably the best ones to choose. Obviously, just from mentioning that. So, I don't know if you're aware, the end of life and walk in my shoes are at the minute being looked at by City and Guilds. We're also obviously getting them assured by them. Obviously, I'm not 100% sure exactly where they are in the process, but the lady at City and Guilds that's guiding us as a company through that, obviously has assured us. Hopefully, we'll get that sorted. So that's another 2. You know, that have a qualification for our staff that we support. There's lots of different things. Obviously, there is IDSI, there's incontinence, there's falls, there's loads of different training. There's the manual handling, BLS, which is basic life support. There's lots and lots of different courses, and then we have the usual, which other companies will have, which is our e-learning. The difference with ours to them is all of our e-learning courses are accredited by CPD, so that's a huge thing, because that's another sort of feather in the cap for our staff that we'll be giving to them.
Yeah, and just on that point of the benefits of working care, you mentioned about kind of the luxury care homes now. I think that's a good point to highlight, is that amongst, obviously we can say in Oakland Care, the environment is beautiful, isn't it? So they'll be going to work every day in a lovely environment. They get all of their meals included, hot drinks, which isn't necessarily a given in other industries. So I think that's just a point to raise as well. So we have spoken about career progression, but do you have any examples? So I know within Oakland Care we have lots of examples of people that have moved from nurse to deputy manager to home manager. We've had people start as admin and end up as home manager. So do you have any examples that you could pull out from our homes?
To be fair, you've probably taken the few that I was
going to
sorry. That's what I was going to say.
You mentioned some great ones. We do have someone in the business who started as a receptionist, who is a general manager now, and can I say a top performing general manager, not just any general manager. We have some great managers who started as chefs, who are also running as top high performing managers. People who started as bank carers, people who started as nurses and moved their way on. And then most recently, we've had people move from hospitality into management. So the career path is just for people to understand, is not just people in care go on to be managers. That is not the case.
No,
the field here is level for everybody. You're given the same tools. The leadership. We have a leadership and management training, which I'm personally on myself, and I think I've got one more course to finish, and we're done with it. So it's been phenomenal teaching me coaching.
Yeah,
that's another one which probably I forgot about, which is something that all management gets to go on. But I won't talk about the care ones, but one of the big ones is obviously within the catering team in particular. So we have had kitchen assistants that have moved on to commis chef onto chef de partie onto sous chef, and then depending on the size of the home, they do have the ability then to progress to either head chef or head of hospitality, depends on which way they want the field to take them. So, there are a lot of different career paths available to anybody that wants them.
Yeah, I think that's so positive, isn't it? Just kind of like, if you're on the outside looking in and you're seeing and hearing like all these positive abilities or possibilities, that you can make in your career. Like when you come to Oakland Care, it's just not a career, it's just not a job, No. It's something that you can really kind of jump in and excel, grow. Imagine like being able to grow in your role. Who doesn't want to, especially if you've got that kind of mindset where you want to kind of excel in your career. Oakland Care is a thriving sort of environment for somebody to kind of step in and really grow their career. I think that's so positive.
Yeah, I actually have some numbers for you. So at the minute, so we have 10 homes. 40% of our general managers are promoted internally. So that is natural growth. In December, we promoted internally 30 people. So it's
wow.
From senior roles to community leads, unit managers to deputy to manager, head chefs onto hospitality managers onto heads of hospitality. The progression in December, for us as a business, for me as a recruiter, was super exciting. When I go to the future careers fairs, which we have loads coming up soon, I can talk to people about what we've done last year. And like I said, the numbers really do speak for themselves. But like you say, that the natural progression here, if you are that sort of person and you have that drive to get to where you are, we have that ability. I'm not saying it's going to happen straight away. At the end of the day, there is a plan to follow. But if you come in with a plan and a desire, as an organisation, we will support you and give you those tools.
And also kudos to you, John, because you're seeing these people up front and you're recruiting them. So
That's the best part.
Exactly.
Seeing them when they come in,
Your babies.
And then a year down the line, they're in a completely different uniform.
Yeah.
They've got a badge and they're like they're a leader or the manager now, and you're like, that is absolutely amazing.
Amazing.
When I first saw that person, there was potentially a housekeeper or something, and the next thing they've got their own team, and it's like,
brilliant.
It really is good to see.
Yeah, no, that's really good to hear as well. Like you say, the numbers speak for themselves, and it's a great thing to be able to share to anyone that's interested in working with us. So for anyone that would be interested in working in care, what's the day-to-day like in a care home? Can you give us a little bit of insight?
Well, that's the best part about working in a care home, that not every day is the same.
That's true.
I spend a lot of my time in and out of the care homes, talking with the staff. You can ask them what the plans are today. They cannot tell you purely because it's whatever comes up at that moment in time. You can plan anything for the residents. If they don't want to do that, they will change their mind. But working in a care home, it's a lot of fun. I mean, you see that you're up and down the units, obviously seeing the residents, the families and the care staff, and pretty much not just the care staff, but the housekeeping staff getting involved in things. Obviously, we've seen a lot this over the last 12 months, in the homes while the staff themselves are developing things. But you'd be surprised by sort of the amount of things that you see. So obviously you see a lot of wisdom being passed on from residents to staff, which most people don't think about. This obviously the good part about working in this sector is you get to sit and talk with these people, and the things they can teach you is mind blowing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was going to ask you kind of along those lines, what for you is the best thing about working in elderly care and what you've learned from working with the older generation? I know you're kind of not working directly with the residents, but you're out and about, you're in the care homes a lot. I'm sure you build relationships and get to know people. So what's your favourite thing about working with the older generation?
I do get to spend a lot of time, because obviously I'm in and out of, like you said, the care homes, the bistros, the units. I do have a couple of favourites. You're not meant to, I know. But I do have residents that I see a lot. Probably the one thing I've learned is never judge a book by its cover. Just because this person's sat there and they're quiet, and so you sit down and talk to them. You really don't understand life. Honestly, you do not understand life until you sit down and speak to them about what they've been through.
Exactly,
Obviously, on some of your previous podcasts, where I've seen you speaking to other people about residents in the homes, like some of their stories are just
phenomenal.
Crazy. But for me, the one thing I've learned is never judge a book by its cover.
Yeah,
I think that's so important what you're saying there, because we run, or the homes run sort of intergenerational activities where they may bring in school children or nursery children, and you get the kind of older generation kind of interacting, with the younger ones. And as you said, there's so much wisdom to impart to them. And also equally, the young people are kind of getting them up to speed with what's happening in the world, today. And I think those type of activities are really beneficial to both parties.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if you ask, if you sit down with a resident and ask them what could our care staff do, not better, but what could they do more? It's probably, and I hear it a few times, taking time to listen. So obviously they're trying to ask what somebody wants while flying past. I've experienced it today where a lady just sort of stopped what she was doing, even though she was in the middle of something, just to sort of sit and ask, what do you want to do today? Because she didn't like one of the activities that was on, and she spoke to the lifestyles team, and they brought some games and completely changed the activity just for her, and that's that for me is what person cares about. You sat down, you asked what they wanted, and you listened.
Yeah, no,
I love it when you kind of when they kind of stop you and say, "Well, what do you do here? What's your role?" And you just kind of explain it to them, and they're like, "Oh, that's so fascinating." And then, as you said, it just sparks a conversation, and you get to know about that resident a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. And I completely agree with you. You just need to have like one conversation with a resident, and you're like, wow, things that they've lived through or the wisdom they can give you. It's so nice. And what other industry, like where else in a place of work can you kind of get that from? Absolutely, and you can have those conversations that can completely change your day. You can go in feeling a certain way and then have one conversation with a resident and you've just got a smile on your face, or your whole perspective on something has changed. And that's what I love about it too. So we did speak about the kind of negative connotations of care, and there's something that we ask everyone now that speaks to us is, can you dispel any myths about care homes and elderly care and what it's like for you to work in care?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own opinions of what it's like to work in a care home. This is usually something that they've heard from friends, family, something that's seen on the news, which obviously is a lot at the minute. Me personally, I would not sort of tell you about any sort of myths. I would suggest put yourself out there. Go and see a care home for yourself. You know, if you have a local care home, if you have free time, you don't want to work in a care home, just volunteer.
Yeah.
And, you know, to make someone a cup of coffee, have a chat with them. We have volunteers in the home, you know, so put yourself out there and break down that stigma yourself. Go and see, because, like I say, we open the homes for recruitment. Obviously, our brand new home in Osborne Manor is due to open soon, so they're having an open day for their local neighbourhood. So that is perfect opportunity for the people of sort of Wigmore, Medway to go into one of our homes, and I promise you, like, your mind will be blown, because elderly care is nowhere near like it was when I was a child. It's crazy. I mean, it sounds weird, but I'm actually can't wait to retire into one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, thanks for that. So hopefully we've encouraged maybe one person, two people to kind of consider a career in care. Where should they look and where should they go if they want to explore it a bit further?
So the best place to always look is company website. If you want to look for a job, whether it is with us or any other care provider, you look on the company's website, because you will find all the information on there. Job boards are great, but it's very limited information to what they pull through. So you're always best, you know, looking on the company's website. Ours is fantastic. You will find every piece of information that you need about a career in care. It's just been redesigned as well, so you'll find some new bits about, obviously, how we support people that are new to care as well. And then obviously there's little chats on there, so you can have a conversation. And then secondly, the social media. For us, for Oakland Care, obviously we've got 10 homes now. If you look at any of our care homes and you want to see what it's really like, look at what the teams are doing in there. So our lifestyles teams, our hospitality teams, there are pictures and videos posted every other day, so you can see what it really looks like in the homes. That's probably the best way to look at it, because if you see something on there, you might see, actually, this is an environment that I want to be involved in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If you go on our social medias and see some of the videos and photos from the homes, they're heartwarming and amazing. And it just often brings a tear to your eye just having a look at them, because it's so lovely. It's what they do in the homes. It's amazing.
The things they do, the activities teams and the hospitality teams, it's brilliant the way they make someone's day. Like you say, if it's just you know, serving them a cup of coffee, or, you know, getting them out in the gardens to do a bit of planting, obviously not in this weather, but when it's better. You know, look at the videos, and you really will change your mind on the perception of care.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us, Jon. I think that was a really useful conversation for anyone that is considering a career in care. Do either of you have anything you want to add? Or?
Only thing from me is check out the website. It's www.oaklandcare.com/careers.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Care to Share podcast. We hope you found the information in this episode useful. You can find out more about Oakland Care at www.oaklandcare.com. You can also follow the Care to Share podcast on Instagram at care2share_podcast. Please also remember to rate and review the podcast.